be seated.
All right, are there any matters that we need to take up at this time out of the presence of the jury?
That's from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything
No, Your Honor.
All right, bring in the jury, please. All right, we continue with cross-examination of the witness. Please, Mr. Victor.
Mr. Heinzman, did you know that Mr. and Mrs. Cochran did not have any, or did not list any, source of income past 2017? Did you know that or not?
They didn't list it where?
On their tax returns.
No,
You didn't know that, okay?
I don't know if that's true, but I did not know.
I didn't ask you whether you knew it was true. I just asked you whether you knew that they did that. And the answer is no. Now, did you know, did you look at the, well, I mean, you investigated this case thoroughly. Did you ever consider looking at the forfeiture clause or forfeiture document filed by the federal government? Did you?
Again, this came after I had already left, so
Okay.
I didn't see this at that time,
Okay.
no.
So if I told you that in the year of 2018, under Schedule C for Tactical Solutions, Mr. and Mrs. Cochran listed the gross sales and gross profits for the, well, for the Tactical Solution group, the gross profit of $12,406,564. Would that surprise you?
No, I did see those documents, yes.
Mr. Huntsman, the wife comes home and well, the husband comes home and says, "Honey, we just filed the taxes. Our income is $12 million." And then what?
That's not how the documents ran with this business or with the Cochrans, so that would not be the case.
For the profit of the TSM, $12 million. Where did that come from, sir? And even better, the wife says to, well, the husband says to the wife, "Honey, where did that 12 mil come from?" And you still testify here today under oath that he didn't know anything about the illicit Ponzi scheme? Is that your testimony here today?
Yes, he did not know anything about the Ponzi scheme.
Okay. Well, he obviously listed as the place for the mail for the Tactical Solution Group, P.O. Box 667, as a general customer is Michael Cochran, didn't he?
I don't know what you're looking at, Mr.
Okay.
Victor.
May I have this marked
Certainly.
as, I'm gonna hand the, I'm gonna hand the prosecution copy of this. And may I have this marked
The defendant's
as
exhibit number
defendant's
2.
exhibit number 2?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And may I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Hyman, I'm gonna hand you what's been marked as defense exhibit number 2 and tell us whether you know what this is.
No, Mr. Victor, I can't say I know what this is.
You don't know? Does it say P.O. Box 667 for tactical solution and gives the address of 4334 H Lake Road, Daniels, West Virginia? Would that be the address of Mr. and Mrs. Cochran's house?
That is the address of their house.
Right? And now they've been assigned a P.O. Box number 667 for that address. True? You can look at the very top of the document, which is P.O. Box 667. Can't you? Yes or no?
This document does say box number 667.
All right.
However, it doesn't have any dates on it.
No, Mr.
Okay.
Hyman.
Okay, I'm
Does it
just-
say P.O. Box 667 for that particular address?
I want to answer the questions intelligently, but I need to
Well, you
know.
can answer that on redirect.
Okay.
Does it list P.O. Box 667 for that home address of Mr. and Mrs. Cochran?
It lists 2 P.O. boxes here,
All
so.
right. Well, then
So
let's start
yes,
with P.O. Box
667 is one of those.
All right. And who is the customer on the front page?
Tactical Solutions Group LLC.
All right. And then there is P.O. Box 782, also listed on that front page, right?
Yes.
And that is, who is the customer for that?
That says Michael Cochran.
All right. And on page 2, P.O. Box 667 is assigned to Tactical Solution Group, right?
Yes.
And then it says individual right after that in like little brackets, and it says Michael Cochran, right?
Did you say blue brackets?
It's a little bracket, may.
Yes, that says Michael Cochran there.
And P.O. Box 782 is, again, Michael Cochran as a customer.
Yes.
Now, may I retrieve the exhibits? Oh, by the way, I moved for the admission of defendant's exhibit number 1, if I forgot, and also number 2.
Any objection, Mr. Truman?
No objection either.
All right, defendant's exhibits numbers 1 and 2 will be admitted into evidence.
May I retrieve the exhibits, please? So would you agree with me, sir, that all the mail that comes to the tactical solution, the tactical solution group comes to the PO box owned by Michael Cochran. And he has access to it, obviously. True?
No.
No? Okay. One of these companies dealt with firearms. True?
Yes, sir.
Military equipment. True?
Purportedly, yes, sir.
Yes. With my clients, do you know from your thorough investigation of this case, what is my client's experience with firearms and military gear?
I don't believe your client has any experience with firearms or military gear that I'm aware of.
However, Mr. Cochran seems to have plenty of experience with that, right?
I think he was a fan of those things. I don't think he ever served in the military.
No. He was a fan of the military equipment.
The persona,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Now, he is actually listed as the partner in both of these firms, right?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
Yes and no.
Okay. Well, let's see. Well, let's start with something different. Registration status that is registered with, I believe, the Secretary of State. May I have this marked as defendant's sequential exhibit? May I approach?
Yes, you may.
I'll show you what's been marked as defendant's exhibit number 3 and ask you to turn to page 2 and tell the jury what that document says.
The documents, page 2 of 5, is a printout. What all do you want me to read?
Well, let me ask you this. Isn't it the registration of the business called Tactical Solution Group, LLC? At least that's what it says, right?
On this document, yes, it does
Well,
say that.
And to renew the registration, it shows all kinds of computer possibilities, HTTPS, whatnot. But then it has a name of somebody who is related to Tactical Solution Group and who is apparently registering this business, who would that be? On page 2.
Michael Cochran.
Do you see anywhere there in this document?
Not on this document, no, sir.
The name of Natalie Cochran?
No, sir, not that
All
document.
right, move for admission into the evidence of defendant's exhibit number 3.
All right.
I moved for the admission, I don't,
Any objection, Mr. Truman?
No objection.
Defendant's exhibit number 3 will be admitted into evidence.
I'd like to have this marked as the defendant's exhibit number 4. May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Going to show you what's been marked as defendant's exhibit number 4. Would you tell us what that is?
It appears to be a photograph without a date of a business card that says Technology Management Solutions, LLC.
Okay. Who is the owner and the operator?
The owner and operator on this card is Michael B. Cochran.
Okay. He is licensed and insured, correct?
Yes,
And
according to this card.
Of course, according to his card. We're looking at exhibit number 5, Mr. Heinzman.
This says exhibit
4.
number 4.
4. He gives a direct phone number for those who wish to contact him, doesn't he?
There is a phone number on the card, yes.
Okay. And he also gives his email address, right?
There is an email on here, yes.
And that's M. Cochran, not N. Cochran. True?
That is correct.
All right. If I may retrieve this. And I'd like to move it into the evidence.
Any objection, Mr. Truman?
No objection.
It is admitted.
Your Honor, I may retrieve another document,
All right.
which... No, that's state's exhibit. No, that's, I cannot retrieve it. Is it true that Mr. Cochran signed all kinds of checks on behalf of his business?
There were checks signed by Mr. Cochran, yes.
Dealing with the operation of the of the business.
Can we clarify which business or both businesses?
Well, Technical Solution Group. I'm going to show you a couple of exhibits. And I have provided copies to the state. ask that these exhibits be perhaps marked collectively in a sequential number.
All right. You've got copies of these, Mr. Truman?
I do, yes.
No. No, just collectively. Thank you. May I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
I'm going to show you what the mark is the defendant's exhibit number 5. Would you take a look at these pages and tell us what you see?
You want me to describe everything?
Well, no, just tell us what these pages represent.
Page 1 of the one that has a stapled page is a photocopy of a check, a Tactical Solutions Group check number 1095, City National Bank. It's attached to a printout of what appears to be a partial screenshot of a web page pertaining to the ATF.
Who is this check for? Who is it payable to?
I believe it says Morpho Trust on it.
Okay. Who signed this check?
This particular check number 1095, is signed by Michael Cochran.
Okay. Next check. Who is it for?
The next 3 documents are single pages. They all are photocopies of checks written on City National Bank in the name of Tactical Solutions Group.
Signed by whom?
Check 1216, the first document is signed by what appears to be Michael Cochran.
Who is it
Even
payable?
though it's,
Who is it payable to?
I'm not sure. This one is made payable to Jason Bowen.
For what? Can you tell?
What amount?
Well, what amount?
Oh, May 18th, 2018, check to Jason Bowen, $1,000, and that is for labor remodeling of 219 North Eisenhower Drive, which is the...
I didn't ask you what it is. I asked you what it says.
The second one, check 1268, dated 6/21/2018, that is written, same account number, same bank, to Jason Bowen for $1,000 for labor for remodeling work, TSG.
That would be Tactical Solution Group, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay.
August 31st, 2018, check 1405, same bank. Check written to Jonathan Miller for $1,200. And in the memo line, it says labor for TSG.
If I may retrieve the exhibit and move for the admission of the defendant's exhibit number 5.
Any objection, Mr. Truman?
No objection, Your Honor.
Defendant's number 5 is admitted into evidence.
Would you agree with me, Mr. Heisman, that Mr. Cochran is intimately involved in the running of the operation of TSG?
No, sir, I would not agree
No.
with that.
Now he signs checks for the workers who perform improvements on his place of business. He gets involved in the running the operation daily, and you would not agree that he is actually a member of, well, actually runs the daily affairs in this company.
No.
Okay. How many checks can you tell me Natalie Cochran signed for any operation of the business?
The majority of the checks that we reviewed were signed by Natalie Cochran.
Well, can you show me any that deal with the business, day-to-day business operations of the TSG?
Yes.
Well, as you sit here today, you have any of them? Any copies?
Not with me, sir, no.
Okay. Let's assume that she signed it. We have already acknowledged, did we not, that she was part and parcel of this business, right?
Yes, she was.
However, you're claiming that Mr. Cochran didn't seem to know anything about it.
That was not my testimony, no.
Okay. He only knew the legitimate parts of it, right?
No, sir, that's not what I said.
All right. Now, when the Cochrans asked for a loan, who asked for a loan?
Which loan are we talking about?
Tactical Solutions Group, when they asked for a loan to run their business. Who asked for that loan?
There were several loans, so which loan?
Well, let's
Can we
start with this one.
be more specific?
It is marked as defendant's sequential exhibit.
This is number 6, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
May I approach?
Yes, you may.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as the defendant's exhibit number 6. Would you tell us whether this is what it is, first of all?
This is a poor copy, photocopy of some type of perhaps loan document from a bank. Maybe City National Bank.
Poor copy it is. So let's see who signed this poor copy for a loan.
Natalie Cochran and Michael Cochran.
Right. May I retrieve the exhibit and move for the admission and the evidence?
Dated 9/27/2017.
Any objection, Mr. Truman?
No objection.
And when you,
Admitted.
thank you, Ron. And when you apply for a loan, you have to disclose your financial status. Is that true?
Generally, yes.
Well, you're a fraud expert here. You touted your credentials here in the financial world, so I ask you a simple question. If you apply for a loan for a banking institution, do you have to disclose your financial status?
Generally, yes.
Right. Now, do you know what type of information was disclosed to that bank in asking for the loan?
Again, which loan are we referring to?
The one
Mr.
that I showed you right now in exhibit number 5.
That is two documents out of many documents of a bank loan.
didn't
So
ask you
I
about
do
that.
not know without having adequate documents to review. So I don't know what was given.
So you don't remember whether they disclosed any financial information to any bank in asking for a loan?
I can answer that generally, or I can answer that specifically.
Well, then let me ask you whether you, in your thorough investigation of the case, concluded that they were both or individually filing for a loan, first of all. You have the evidence that they have so far, right?
That they have filed for loans.
For loans. And in your thorough investigation of the case, did you conclude or did you learn that Mr. Cochran was actually disclosing his income or the TSG's income in the application for the loan? Do you know or do you not? Well, you prepared for this trial, Mr. Heinzman. You have had at the disposal of the financial documents.
2 years worth of financial documents. We need to be specific about which document, which loan we're
Well, I
talking
asked you
about.
about this one. You don't.
It's an inadequate copy. I don't know. I can't even verify which bank it was. There were many financial institutions involved in these businesses and with the scheme. So
All right. Have you ever talked to Michael Cochran?
I met. Well, yes, I met Michael Cochran, the deceased Michael Cochran,
Yes, the
at
deceased
least two
Michael
times.
Cochran.
His father's
Okay.
name, Michael Cochran.
Okay. The deceased Michael Cochran.
I think 2 times I met Mr. Cochran.
And you discussed his business with him?
Neither time.
Well, when did you talk to him?
I
year?
think I attended a board meeting for Shady Spring Football Board and parents that was the subject of a complaint of a embezzlement that Trooper Alan Marsh of the West Virginia State Police was investigating. He consulted with me and asked me to come to this meeting
Okay.
and help him with this investigation. And I think I met Michael Cochran. He was at the meeting, may have been introduced, may not have.
But on neither occasion did you talk to him about Natalie Cochran's business, correct?
Those were not the nature of the contacts.
Well, yes or no? Come on.
No, that's a,
All right.
that's a
Now-
negative.
Now, so would it be fair to say that at no point did Mr. Cochran come to you and said, you know, officer, well, detective, whatever your status was at that time, I think my wife is doing something really shady. I need to really talk to some police officers, or I need to really report my wife, maybe to the feds. Nothing like that ever happened, right?
No, sir.
Okay. And you've concluded from all of this, all of your investigation, that Ms. Cochran was running into a financial scheme that was, of course, illegal, right? True?
Yes.
And that Mr. Cochran didn't know anything about it, okay? Right?
He was unaware of the illegality portion of the business,
He was
yes.
blissfully unaware of any illegality of it. Now, isn't it true that he actually received almost $44,000 from his parents for the investment of this business?
Yes. Yes, they did.
Well, what other money from the investors were directed to Mr. Michael Cochran just directly? Do you know?
Is this are you springing off the first question?
Well, let me just do this. If I may have this marked. That's the defendant's exhibit number. That would be 7.
Number 7.
Number 7. May I approach the witness, please?
Certainly.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as defendant's exhibit number 7, and this is a document in this shape that I received. Would you kindly look at this document and tell the jury what this document is?
Some sort of financial document.
All right. Let me maybe let's read together. This has been provided to us by the prosecution, so I'm reading. The Bank of America Visa, Donna K. Bolt and Edward Wayne Bolt, victims of fraud. Who are the Bolts, sir?
Edward Wayne Bolt and Donna K. Bolt, husband and wife. Donna is the biological mother of the decedent Michael Cochran, and Edward is her husband.
So the mother-
Stepfather of Michael Cochran.
All right, so the mother and the stepfather of Michael Cochran.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be providing Mr. Michael Cochran on page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4, directly with substantial amounts of money, right? Amounting to about 44,000. If you want to count. What's your answer?
Can you repeat the question?
This document shows in different locations the payments made by Mr. and Mrs. Bolt, in this case, victims of fraud, as it says, substantial direct payments to Michael Cochran in the amount of sum total of about $44,000. Would that be a fair assessment?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, then let's go line by line. On the front page, on December the 8th, and posting date December 9, it says SQ Michael Cochran Daniels, reference number 8086, account number 6008, $11,821. Do you see that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe so.
How about 12/4, posted 12/15, SQ Michael Cochran, reference number 2358, same account number, $1,648.79. Do you see it?
Yes.
On 2/4 and 2/5, I'm sorry, on the second page, on February 4th, posted February 5th, SQ Michael Cochran Daniels, reference number 4817, $1,448. Do you see it?
Yes.
Then on page 3, on February 15th, well, February 14th, and February 15th, on Valentine's Day, they must have been very generous because they posted $2,431, and the same day, $6,302, and the next day, they sent to Mr. Cochran $7,000. Do you see it?
I do see that.
Well, is there any doubt in your mind that this was sent to Mr. Cochran as part of his investment or their investment in his company?
They appear to be investments into the company.
And so they sent that money directly to Michael Cochran?
That would be incorrect.
No?
No, sir.
No? Who did they send it to, sir?
They sent it to what appears to be a Square app. It's a financial app that was under the control of Natalie Cochran and Michael Cochran.
Right. Well, we've already established that Natalie Cochran is a bad girl, but we were trying to establish whether Mr. Cochran had any of that knowledge that the money that was being invested, he had the knowledge of, that was invested as part of his scheme.
He was aware that his mom and his stepdad were investing money into the business.
Okay. Who else invested in his business that you know he was aware of?
Natalie Cochran's parents, the Jessups, Daphne Jessup and Larry Jessup.
So, well, how much did they invest? Do you remember?
Initially, roughly $76,000 from May 30th, 2017 to March 21st, 2019.
And Mr. Cochran was aware of that, right?
I don't know about theirs. I think he was, yes.
All right. Who else invested in that company that you are aware of?
Did you want me to go down the entire list?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So there was, appears to be Natalie Cochran's parents, Larry and Daphne Jessup, Michael Cochran's parents, or his mom, Donna Bolt, and stepdad, Eddie Bolt. Then Natalie Cochran's sister, Penny Carrico, was an investor into the business. Penny Carrico is now Penny Lowry. She had a boyfriend named Mario Lowry at the time. He was an investor into the business. Then Natalie Cochran has a sister named Wendy, and her husband John Poteet. They own a business here in Raleigh County.
How much did they invest?
Over $490,000.
And Michael Cochran was aware of that, wasn't he?
Do we continue with the list?
No, I just asked you a question, whether Michael Cochran was aware of that investment of almost $500,000.
Yes and no.
Yes and no? Well, which is it?
Well,
Did he know?
he was aware of some. He was not aware of others. And then he was not aware of the extent of some of the investments or the repeat investments.
Well, how
of
would
the
you know
investors.
that? This is the money sent to his account, isn't it?
Well,
Isn't it?
I know that from my investigation, from reviewing financial documents, text messages,
What
and interviewing
what
witnesses.
investigation? Tell us specifically what you investigated.
It was the investigation that I was previously trying to explain that you objected to and we never got to. And now
Your
we're talking about fragments of that investigation
As
here
you
on cross.
as you sit here, Mr. Heinzman, you have to admit that Mr. Cochran was fully aware of large chunks of money that was being shipped to his company that he was a partner in, wasn't he?
Mr. Cochran was aware of large sums of money coming to his business.
How much money was there total that was invested in TSG?
The victim,
Not the victim. How much money was
the
invested?
total victim amount that was addressed in the federal charges was over $2 million.
Over $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling this court, and what happened with that money, by the way, once it was invested? They lived high on a hog, didn't they?
Yeah, that was part of it, yes.
Right. And so Mr. Cochran gets a nice shot of over $2 million, and all of a sudden he takes everybody to France. He goes on a trip to Hawaii, takes the family, buys himself a nice vehicle. Oh, for that matter, he even wants to buy a hangar for his helicopter, right?
That's correct.
And he knows nothing about the Oh, by the way, how much did he pay the investors so far? Out of the money, well, I mean, they invested in something. Now they're expecting a return, right? Would you agree with me that any reasonable investor would expect a return on especially $494,000?
Yeah, they would, but they were expecting more than that.
Well, they were expecting, but they were expecting maybe more than that, but they were really expecting cash income from this, right?
That's what all the investors
Okay.
expected, yes.
Right. So they were expecting that. Well, how much out of this over $2 million that Mr. Cochran knew about and that was invested in TSG, how much of that money did he return to the investors as their profit?
That question cannot be answered.
Cannot be answered.
No, it cannot be answered because that's not how these the Ponzi scheme and investments, everything.
All right.
works,
So this is the Ponzi scheme. Would you agree with me? Is to rob Peter to pay Paul, right?
Yes.
So we robbed somebody of $464,000. We robbed Peter of $246,000 or something like that. How much did Paul get? That can be answered easily.
I know that the average investment return rate was around 30% on most of the investors. So
On paper, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
On paper, in Mr. Cochran's head, Their investment return was negative because Mr. Cochran, as part of the this conspiracy, appropriated the money of the investors, didn't he? And lived high on a hog, traveling to Europe, Hawaii, and buying houses, real estate, cars, and everything else. Isn't that a fact,
No,
Mr.
sir.
Heisman? No?
No, it cannot be characterized like that, because that's not a
Okay, well,
proper
then he-
characterization of.
Okay, I'll
circumstances.
rephrase it. He lived not high on a hog. He lived in a luxury, right? He offered scholarships to people out of the money that the investors sent him, didn't he?
No, I'm not aware of him offering scholarships
Well,
to anyone. I know that Natalie Cochran offered scholarships out of the illicit proceeds
well,
from the Ponzi scheme.
we know that Natalie is you know is committed
No,
to-
no, Mr. Cochran did not. Again, there are blended facts of veracity, truth in what you're saying.
blended.
Yeah, your statements have part truth or part fact that can be supported by the investigation, and some of it is mischaracterizations not supported by facts. So
Well,
some of these answers I can't.
Then
Given-
tell us what happened to the money, for example, that the Bolts, Mr. and Mrs. Bolt, invested with their beloved son.
The Bolts.
$44,000.
How much?
44 grand. You saw it in the exhibit.
Well, that's a portion of their investment.
All right. That's
So-
even better. So they invested more. What happened?
Some
what
of
happened to
some
all
of
the-
their invested money, and I don't know if they ever got anything back, but their money was used to pay other investors.
Right. So
as part
their
of the
beloved
Ponzi.
son did not even pay his own mother? On her investment?
Michael Cochran was not aware that his mom was not getting paid. He was not aware of the other investors. He discovered in August of 2018.
You're speculating. You're making this stuff up as you go along.
What I'm saying can be supported by third-party records, which I cannot manipulate, witness statements that we collected during our investigation, review of documents. No, I could support what I'm saying.
Were there any exchanges between Natalie and Mr. Cochran that you are aware of concerning that business?
Yes, there were lots of communication between Natalie Cochran and Michael Cochran pertaining to the business.
Isn't it true that actually Mr. Cochran was telling Natalie, will you wait for me, I'll make the decisions? In so many words, during the exchanges. Are you aware of that or not?
I need more information, Mr. Victor, to.
Ms. Cochran could not make her own decisions in this business, could she? Without Michael's approval.
That's not correct, no, sir.
You don't know the inner workings of the relationship, do you?
Not accurately, no. I was not part of the
No.
relationship.
You don't know who was the dominant individual in the marriage and in the business, right?
I have a pretty good idea based on witness statements and reviewing text messages and things of that nature. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's do it this way. You know about Mr. Michael Cochran's fascination with bodybuilding and being really a macho guy.
Yes.
And you have the same evidence of Natalie Cochran being fascinated with, bodybuilding, being, aggressive and all that. You have any?
Not bodybuilding, no,
No,
sir.
bodybuilding. If you heard the testimony that Mr. Cochran was the dominant character in their marriage, would that surprise you?
No, I would expect to hear that, and I would also expect to hear the same about her in testimony. So I would hear both of that. I would hear that, yes.
Well, of course, you didn't talk to the children, right?
No,
So
sir.
you don't know what was happening in their marriage and in their relationship. And you talked to, I would imagine, her parents, right?
Her parents, Natalie's parents,
Right.
they would not cooperate and talk with law enforcement, no.
No, they wouldn't cooperate with you. Okay. Well, how about the cousins? Did you interview them? No.
Who are the cousins?
Well, anybody who claimed to be the Cochrans, Natalie Cochran's relatives.
We interviewed her sisters, Penny Carrico.
Okay.
We interviewed her sister and her husband, John Poteet, and Wendy Poteet.
And they were the investors, right?
Yes, every name I just mentioned were investors.
Okay.
We
And-
interviewed close friends.
And the
best-
Poteets lost a lot of money, didn't they?
They did.
All right.
Take pause at this time. We passed the
Very-
lunch hour, and I think
I'm sorry,
that,
Your Honor.
now would be a good time to take our lunch. And I again apologize for interrupting cross-examination, but we simply need to observe a lunch break at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break till 1:15, and I apologize to you folks. We're a little bit late, but we sometimes have to go with the flow of the evidence. Please do not discuss the case among yourselves